All right, what is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD interview. Every single week we interview top entrepreneurs and just straight up top badasses. You guys are out there dominating their space. These are people that are choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead choosing to go out there and live an amazing life with this one short gift called life that we have, right? So we've got an amazing guest on the show, you guys. This is a guy that serial entrepreneur, is a lot of different spaces, best-selling author, massive real estate investor, but he didn't start there, right? So I'm really stoked and honored to have Sunil Tulsiani on the show. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you very much, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm excited, man. We've been talking off air for a few minutes before we hit the record button, and you've been grilling me with some brilliant questions, man, that challenged me, and I love it. So I'm really excited to hear your story. I've been following you for a while, and just really excited to have you on the show. So I know you're doing a ton of things today. You're speaking all over the world. You're a best-selling author, coach, consultant, massive real estate investor. But I know you didn't start there.
No.
Right? So I'm really interested in your story, or what led you to entrepreneurship. Like, we're running the clocks, whether it's high school, college. Like, how did you end up? How did this entrepreneurship journey begin?
Well, let's start from the beginning. We came to Toronto in 1981. What happened was I was never a great student. I was really bad student. In fact, my parents, who are from India, they basically compared you, if you're a good son or a daughter, based on your marks. If you got good marks, you're a good son. If you're not, then you're a bad son. And then they would compare with the other people. So all my life I was told that, you're not going to amount to anything and all that kind of stuff. I basically worked from the age of 14. I knew I wanted to be a police officer. That's basically all I wanted to do. I just loved the idea of cleaning up, protecting the world, and all that kind of stuff. And I was very naive. I thought I could go out in Toronto, for instance, and clean up all the streets and do all that kind of stuff, and be the Clint Eastwood of the real world. And in 1990, I became a police officer. Started from being a uniform officer, and then went on to become a police detective, police negotiator, and then finally I became a platoon commander. And it was a great journey for me, and I enjoyed it. And it was about 15 years of policing that I loved it. There was always a side of me that was always a business person. I knew I was a little different. I was not like the let's call it average people. I knew that there was something different about me. And all my life, that different was something that I thought was kind of bad, not so good. So about 13, 14 years into our marriage, we have two children, my son and my daughter, and my wife comes to me and says, we're having a divorce. And 13 years into policing, I thought it was all of a sudden, she was telling me, but apparently all I understand now is that she was all along saying, look, you work too hard, you work days and nights, 14, 15 hours a day. When you're home, you're not home. Like, you're not here. And you're not really looking after, like, we're not raising kids together. And when I used to say my family's the most important part, I would act otherwise. I would, if an overtime or something came in, I would just be out the door and forget about our plans and things like that. It's always the issue was, I am providing for the family, so I'm going to go and do this stuff. Long story short, I realized very quickly that most of my police officer friends, although their idea of protecting the world and doing all that kind of stuff is great, their own lives were not the best. And I realized that high majority of them were divorced multiple times. And I said to myself two things. One, do I want to lose my family, and also do I want to end up like this? And I realized that I did not want, I loved my job and my profession very much so, but I had to decide between the two, family or that. And I said, okay, I'll do this. So what ended up happening was I was not a great student. Usually I would cram up for an exam and then finally pass. And then my dad basically said to me when I came home, usually when I was in high school, he would say, "Did you at least pass? Just tell me you passed. I don't care what marks you have. Just don't tell me you failed." And I remember going to one of my teachers who gave me 48%, and 50% was the passing mark. And I was begging him to say, "Please, just give me 2 marks. I'll do anything. I'll redo the thing." He gave me 2% extra for my participation so I can pass. So I was a shy guy, no business experience. If somebody told me that you can go do a public speaking for 30 seconds and say something, I would melt away. I would just forget it. So I went to my wife and I said, "Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take a 1-year leave of absence." And I was in a good position to go back to the policing and say, "Look, I'm having family problems. I have 2 choices: quit now, or I can take unpaid leave of absence, and so I can come back to my job if my business doesn't work." I must have studied every business opportunity that you can think of, including vending machines, coffee shops, grocery stores, anything every show I went to, business show and I paid and be there. I almost signed on the dotted line, and then I realized, wait a minute, I'm really buying myself a job again, and I'm taking all the risk. So one day I opened up. So I went to my boss and I said to my boss, "Hey, this is what I want. I want to leave, but I don't have the guts to leave my job and know that there's no safety net." Long story short, my boss said to me, "Okay, well, first of all, they said, there's no way we're going to do this." They fought me, and I was in my mind, I just said, I have to do it. So they gave me a 1-year unpaid leave of absence, and my boss said to me, "Don't worry, we know you'll be back." And thank God they said that. He said that. Thank God he said that, because nobody tells you what to do in that arena. So I opened up Toronto Sun, which is a newspaper, and I see this 2-page spread, and this guy that I've never heard of says, "Buy real estate, no money down." And as a cop, I thought, what a scam that is. You can't do that. First of all, some rich guy is going to come into my town, and he has this successful formula, and now he's going to share that formula with me, and he doesn't even know me, and I can buy it no money down. Sure. But I closed it, and I reopened the newspaper, and I came back to the same ad, and it said free 3 hours. I thought, what do I have to lose? So this Robert Allen guy, his name is Robert Allen, and I go to this event for 3 hours. They sold me on a boot camp for $5,000 boot camp for a 3-day event. And what happened was that boot camp changed my life completely, because I had no experience as a business person, no experience as a real estate investor, and no experience in putting these things together. So what he did was, not he, his team showed up. He would never showed up. And they showed me a system of how to buy, set up, do joint ventures, assignments, wholesaling, flipping, how to do that. And since I had no idea how to do that, I just opened up the chapter 5, how to do that, and I went 1, 2, 3, 4, and all the people who came to me said, "No, it doesn't work." I just ignored them. You know why I ignored them? Because I cannot allow me to spend $5,000 and listen to people who I didn't pay anything, and listen to the person that I took the course for. Secondly, I cannot go to my wife and said, "I spent $5,000 and there's no benefit, sorry." So I studied, and my claim of fame was that the first year alone, I bought 77 properties, bought and sold 77 properties. I wrote a goal that I wanted to be, first I wrote a goal that I want to make $200,000, because as a police a sergeant, I was making approximately $100,000 with overtime and everything. And I said to myself, I will have the guts to quit my job if I can double my pay. So then at least I had that safety net. And so I wrote a goal that I, Sunil Tulsiani, will make $200,000 by the end of the year. Okay? And I hand wrote that goal, and I signed it, and I dated it, and I hand wrote 16 copies, and I put it all over my home. And my wife came back and saw that, and she started ripping everything off, because we cannot allow people to come to our home and see this. It doesn't look good. So then I had to be very creative where to put those 16 flyers all over the place. Long story short, within about 3 months, I surpassed that goal. And I said to myself, wait a minute. If this worked for $200,000, I always want to be a millionaire. What the hell? I, Sunil Tulsiani, will make $1 million by the end of the year. Signed it, dated it, 16 copies, put it over again. When I bought and sold 77 properties, I was $20,000 short of $1 million. Wow. Believe me, I was not crying.
Yep.
I was not crying. And when I did that, I had all these people, media, I would have media called me, national media called me up, TV called me up, and I would hang up on them. Why? Because I just wanted to go out, make money for me. I just wanted to be selfish. I didn't want to go and help others and do all this kind of stuff. Although they sounded good in book, I just wanted to make money for me. I want to be quietly making money. I don't want to be on television. So the media would call me up and say, we have questions as to how you did it, or we have questions as where are the 5 places to buy in Canada? Where are the places to buy in the USA? Should we buy in the USA? And all that kind of stuff. And I would just say, not interested. I'll hang up. I hired a mentor, and he said, look, I know you're shy. I know you but you may want to talk to these guys. And after that first year, I went on the front cover of Success Profile of Success magazine, a national magazine, big national television shows, and all over the place. And that's how I kind of became the Sunil Tulsiani success story. And for me, it was like I was like a kid. I was just like enjoying myself a lot. And that's really a huge, beautiful success story. And even today, when I tell the story, it's almost like a dream story that I'm telling, at the end of the day.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. I love it. So, okay, so you 77 homes that you bought, you flipped in your first year, and now you're getting a lot of the media coverage. Then what continues from there? I mean, do you continue flipping at that rate? Obviously there's market shifts, and there are probably some points where you can't get 100% financing. I mean, what does this look like? Because and we talked about this off air before we started, but when people are listening, it's like, holy smokes, but maybe they're really struggling with this. Well,
yes.
We've all struggled at some point, with it. So, what kind of walk us through maybe year 2 through 5? Then, what'd that look like?
Well, the first year seemed to be the most important year. The main question that when I go across Canada, the USA, and in the world, one of the talks I give is, how did I buy 77 properties in the first year? How did I actually do it? And when the Jack Canfield team came to me and said, we want you to co-author a book with them, and it's called The Success Secret, and they said, if somebody paid you 10 grand and they were going to pick your brain, what would they ask, and what would you say to them? I said, well, most of them will ask, how did I do it in the first year? I mean, I want to be a millionaire too. How the hell did you do it when you had no experience? You didn't have rich uncles. You did not have millions of dollars, and you did not have this how to do it. How'd you do it? So they said, put that person in front of you, and I want you to write the answer and put that contribution to the book. So what I ended up doing is became one of the top. I have won the Publishers Award on answering how I bought 77 properties. And the main thing to understand is that first year was very important to me because I was counting each one of them because I had no one in my entire family had seen or even thought about $1 million. It's not something that we do. It's just, just paycheck to paycheck, save some money, and that was it. Retire. My father says, get a great job, get a good pension, and just retire, show up early, leave late. Work hard. That's how you do it. And then maybe one day they promote you to something. What happened by the end of the year was that people came to me and said, you did so well, and you helped a few people alongside making some money. Hey, why don't you open up a real estate club? And I said, well, what the frig is real estate club? I don't know what it is. They go, well, boom, boom, boom. They tell me, well, people meet, they learn a lot. I said, awesome. Who's going to teach them? They go, you. I said, I can't speak. What are you talking about? And it was like persistently people telling me to do it. And one day I got very upset. And I said, all right, I'll open up a club. And they go, what are you going to call it? Well, it's got to be private. It's a club. Well, Private Investment Club. That's it. That's the name of the club. And they're like, okay. and then they said, okay. So I had no way of knowing how to negotiate with the hotel. What am I going to charge? What am I going to do? And all that kind of stuff. And then I ended up going on my first meeting, and I was so scared because I've never spoken for another club. In fact, I was walking, when I was introduced, I was walking up to the front of the room, and I was hoping a bomb will fall and everybody would just disappear, and that was it. Because all these 100 people have come to see me. Like, me? Why? Like, who am I to tell them? But what I found was I basically did what I'm doing right now. No notes, no planning, unscripted. And I just got in front of the room, and I just basically told them how to make money in real estate. And what happened is that day I found out, apparently, not only am I a good entrepreneur and a real estate investor, but apparently I'm a good speaker as well. And that's because it was not it's not being repeated, something that I read in the book. Yeah. It's something that I did, and I became really good at it. And now, when I became really good at it, what I thought was simple to me, they were eating it up like crazy, right? And that's how the journey came. And I opened up the largest elite real estate club in Canada. It's called Private Investment Club. And alongside that, as I opened the club up, the purpose of this club was mainly one thing and one thing only. There are a lot of trainings that happen across the world, especially USA and Canada. And there are a lot of gurus that come along. And main purpose of the gurus are to sell their courses, and then their advanced courses, and then there are another advanced courses, another advanced courses, and another advanced courses, and boom. What I said to myself is, when people come for those training and then these people leave, they're like almost left alone. They're almost like, okay, well, I learned it, but you said I can do assignments. Where do I find partners? You said I can get private money, but I have all these scripts, but I don't have the relationships now. You said that I can find some good deals with some people that I can build a relationship with, but I don't know where to get that. So what I said to myself is, why don't I be that person? Why don't our club be where our money, there is a fee for becoming a member of our club, but the amount is so little. The idea there was to network and actually provide the opportunities, whether they're looking for money or they're looking for great deals and education on a consistent basis. It doesn't matter where you're in the world. Obviously, if you're in the Toronto, Ontario area, it's better for you. But I have members across the world, and they do it because perhaps they live in, let's say, somewhere in the USA, and they are able to find great opportunities. Well, I know people in Canada that love to buy properties in the USA because our market in Canada is huge and it's very expensive. Yours, in comparison, is very inexpensive. So what I became the person who basically put two and two together, to people who can't find money or they can't find deals, and I put them together. And then what I ended up doing was I started to, when I made money and people became my member of my club, how do you go to someone who's very, very successful and say, hey, I'd like you to do a joint venture? Well, one of the things you do is you buy their courses, or you become the member. So people who become member of my club, what I ended up doing is I started to do joint ventures with them. So they found a great deal, I would fund it. They would find a great opportunity. They don't know who to assign to. Maybe I know someone that I could assign it to. And then we share the profits doing that stuff. So since then, it's been an amazing journey from a point of view of that my mindset in the last 11 years now have changed from how much money can I make? Believe me, I want to make money, and I do make money. But how much money can I make versus how much money can I make and not use my time? Yeah. So today I'm sitting at home right now in my golf shirt and just enjoying myself. And what I do is I live a dream life of someone that you may not even, most people can't imagine. So I work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I have it off every weekend, unless I'm speaking somewhere or doing something like that. I work 6 hours a day if I feel like it, and people get to see me when I want them to see me. So when I started, it was all like, let's work 18 hours a day, just boom, 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 make some money and all that stuff. Versus now, who cares if I got, I mean, my view anyways, whether you got 10 million bucks or if I work double and put all this time in, I make 20 million bucks. I don't want that anymore. Financial freedom is very important to me because I want to be able to look after my parents. I want to be able to go on trips. I want to be able to leave and discover a country for 2 months and not worry about what's happening with my business and money where it's coming from. So to me today, from this when I started, it was me, selfish. I want to make money, and it turned somewhere along the line. It turned let's help others, and truly not just save. Because the first couple of years when I got on the stages, I used to say to people, I want to help people. The truth was, I really didn't want to help people. I wanted to help me first, and then if they got help, that's fine. But what happened was I studied the best of the best, and I realized almost in every book and every course that the more you help others, the more better it is for you. And intelligently, that kind of made sense, but I wasn't following it. But there came a time where the tides were turned. And now I make good money, but I love the fact that I can help people make money. So today I help people become best-selling authors, public speakers, put them on big stages, real estate millionaires. Just basically, they don't know how to get a dinner date with Tony Robbins. How do I do that, Sunil? Well, I say to you, well, I can get you that. So that's really what I do. I kind of help a lot of people right now doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, not only do you continue creating opportunities for your family, but live the lifestyle you want and have a massive, massive impact on a lot of lives, man. It's amazing. And, but that wouldn't have existed if that first year didn't happen, right? That street cred and with that. So going back to that first year, and I know you've got a whole book on this, and those of you watching and listening, is going to be a link right below. Just go buy the book.
Yes.
It always drives me nuts when people aren't willing to spend like $30 on a book that has millions and millions of dollars of information in there. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Right? So going back to that first year though, what were like some of the challenges that you never maybe thought were going to be a challenge? Because a lot of people are like, oh, well, maybe it's getting the money. But then sometimes it's like, hey, I got to manage all these crews now. And then got deals falling out and all these things happen. And, what were some of those obstacles that you had to overcome? Some great learning experiences that you didn't think would ever even, you didn't even fathom would be an issue.
Okay, so my biggest challenges actually came several years later when U.S. market crashed. Before that, I don't know if you know this, in about 11 years ago, real estate was a very sexy word. I mean, if somebody said, hey, we're having a real estate event and let's meet on Saturday, I would have 400 people show up without even marketing and doing anything like that because people were making money and it was great and awesome and all that. And I just told people, hey, I'm going to be in this area on this day, and people will just show up as opposed to what happens now. So up till that point, up to the point where the market crashed, that's where my real challenges start. But one of the things that I want to point out is that how did I buy 77 properties, and how is it even possible? Because some people can't understand, is that even possible? 77 properties a year, that's only 365 days in a year. How do you get 77 properties and all that kind of stuff? So I want to point out some of the things that I did that worked that I did not know that I was doing. Meaning I did not have, I was just like, I just said, that's it, I got to do it. So first thing, let's talk about success formula. First thing is this. Think and Grow Rich talks about the burning desire. So first thing is, either we have a gun to the head or we don't. Okay? So if you look at most successful people on this planet, they have a gun to the head or burning desire. Think and Grow Rich. If they don't have gun to the head, and they're really excited about making money. What ends up happening is if it snows tomorrow, all of a sudden they go, it's snowing, I'm not going to show up. Or, it costs $1,000 to do this. You know what? That's too expensive. So they see that as an expense rather than investments into themselves. They just don't do things that need to be. You gotta just do it, like Nike says. You got to get shit done. Like, get it done. That's the idea. So first thing is you gotta have gun to the head. And the gun to the head is basically, I gotta do it. That's it. There's no, I can't do it, I won't do it, I gotta do it. So that's one. Second thing is timeline. You gotta have a timeline. So if you say to me, I'm gonna write my book. Say, okay, how long have you been trying to do that? Well, I'll last for 10 years. Okay, well, let's put a timeline to it. 3 months, 6 months, what are you gonna do? You put a timeline. What was mine? Mine was 12 months. My gun to the head was, I'm gonna get divorced, lose my family. I got to do this, or else it won't work. So you have to have the burning desire or gun to the head. You got to have the timeline to say you got to do it within this timeline. And then you got to have the whatever it takes attitude. Whatever it takes. Just don't tell me, just get out of my way if you're going to tell me you can't do it, and seek out the people who did it. And so what I did was I said to myself, if one person on this planet has made money in the first year, then I can do it. If 7 billion people on this planet didn't do it, but 1,000 people on this planet have done it, or one person has done it, well, I don't want to look at those 7 billion people. I just want to look at that guy who did it, and I'm just going to go find out what it takes to follow that guy. That means reading their books, attending their seminars, coaching, mentoring, whatever it takes to be in that arena, so then I can understand what they did so I can do the same thing. Okay? So that's your third thing. You whatever it takes, seek out people and say, if they can do it, I can do it. So then that's now the strategies are only 10%, maybe 90% is all here. It's all here. That is why if you can have million people pass MBA, and only few of them actually do anything with it, it's the same information they all got, but very few people do it. If people go to seminars and 90% of them don't do anything, it's that mindset that is important. So what I did was I studied and read and listened to all the personal growth audiobooks. And what I did was I listened to them while I'm working, while I'm driving, and I was, let's call it obsessed. Obsessed in growing me. Because the bigger I get from inside, the bigger I get on the outside. So all the stuff about I don't have the money or I don't have the contacts or connections and all that stuff, you need them. It's just that you need to attract them into your life. And then when they show up into your life, you got to be able to take action on the spot. That's the biggest thing to understand, is that taking immediate action was the most important part. So when I was a police commander, most of the times when I went out on the road, somebody had to be seriously hurt or killed, or something big had to happen for me to attend the scene. So when I attended the scene as the commander, when I show up, there's like cruisers and ambulance and people crying hurt and seeing this and that, commotion and all that stuff. Soon as I opened my cruiser door, almost like everybody would come up to me, officers will come up to me and say, this is what happened, this is what happened, what do we do next? Now imagine as a commander I said, shit, I don't know what to do right now. Or I know what to do, but you know what? I'll be back. And I shut my door and drive away. It would not work. So what I did was I took that type of training that I received and I lived in policing and then brought it into the business world, where I said, here I am. Do I want this? Yes. Do I have so I have the money, I have this, and they go, so when should we do it? I said, do it now. Well, what do you mean? Yeah, we're doing it right now. Oh, no. And what regular people who are not very successful, sometimes what they do is they say, I want that. I have it. The right person is in my life. I got the book. I went to the seminar. I have the opportunity to do it now, but let me think about it. Yeah. And then they think about it, and then they don't do anything with it. right? So the biggest thing to understand is that you must be an action taker. And I want to tell you, when you do take immediate action, sometimes you do make mistakes. Sometimes you will make mistakes. But it's better for you to do that than the other way around. And it's so important about action taking that I want to point out that one of the books that really had huge impact on my life is Think and Grow Rich. And when I was a police officer, somebody gifted that book to me, and I opened that book, and I read 2 or 3 pages, and I threw the book away. So what the hell? Think and Grow Rich. How do you think and grow rich? What a stupid idea. I threw it away. So where's these strategies? I don't understand this shit. Whatever. The same book, when I was leaving the police force and all that stuff, became the Bible. Yep. Became the Bible. And one of the things to understand is that they had 500 of the most successful, wealthy people of that time. And they were asked several different questions. One of the questions was, what was the most important aspect that made you wealthy, rich, successful? And almost all of them said taking immediate action was the differentiation between successful people and non-successful people. Non-successful people will study, run it, analyze it, sit around, think about it, ask their wives, ask their husbands, think about it, do this, And successful people say, I want that, get out of my way, I'll get it, thank you very much. What does it take for me to get that 55-inch television? Well, you got to go to the store, you look at it, and it costs you $1,000. Successful people go, good, that's all I want. You go up, you show up, you pick up the TV, and then you're there. Could you have studied that TV market for 5 years and perhaps gotten a better deal? Perhaps. But the point is they would have missed that 5 years. So you go and get it. That's it. You have to become the 8-year-old child who says, Dad, I want that candy. And Dad says, sure, here's the candy. Now the child goes, oh, well, let me think about that. No, get me the candy. Let's do it, right? And as we grow older, somehow we have the candy, we have the people, we have the strategies, we have what to do, but we just don't grab that candy for whatever reason. We change.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay? So let's talk about the strategies.
Yeah.
Let's finish up the strategies. So why I speak about the 4 or 5 steps that I talk about is that if I just give you the strategies and nothing works for you, then it becomes a waste of time for a person who's studying this, investing this time into listening to us and all that stuff. So if they did half of what I'm saying, they would be 100 to 200% more likelihood, there would be more likelihood that they would become successful than if they just took the strategies. And so you can take the biggest real estate training on this planet. At the end of the day, it kind of boils down to 2 things. There are other aspects of it. One is finding good deals, getting money. That's the basic stuff. Now, there's many ways to find money, many ways to find deals, and then connecting with people, networking, and all that stuff. But it only boils down to 2 things at the end of the day. Either you become an expert in finding good deals, or finding money, or finding both. So the way I did my 77 properties, it included the flips, assignments, wholesaling, rentals, rent-to-owns, and any transaction that related to real estate where it put money in my pocket. That's really is my way of doing it at the end of the day. So I'll give you an example of a deal that I did the first year, no money down, and made lots of money, and how I did it. Okay? So one of the things I do is that I visualize, and I say to myself, okay, I want someone in my life to come in who's very wealthy and who's going to be good for me and who has great deals. Or I want somebody in my life to come in who's very wealthy, has money, but doesn't have time for the deals. Okay? So when I was doing this, I used to repeat an affirmation about 1,000 times a day. So if I wanted to raise $1 million, I would say I have $1 million in private money. I have $1 million in private money. I have $1 million in private money. And I would start in the morning, and I would do it until I couldn't say no more. And I to the point where initially I thought, this is bullshit. This is just lying to yourself. If somebody with binoculars was looking at me, they're gonna think I'm crazy. What the hell, and all that stuff. So it started from that kind of mentality to starting to believing in it. That it is. And then what happens is eventually you go somewhere, phone call comes, you go to an event, somebody bumps into you, he's about to leave the event, and he bumps into you, and he doesn't talk to anybody in there, and he says, hey, what are you doing here? I'm doing, what do you got? I got this, and here's my card, call me. And then you go, what? Why would we bump into each other? Why would, out of hundreds of people, would he talk to me and all that stuff? So I'll share with you a strategy of what happened to me and how I did it, at least the starting point. So so I did that, what I just talked about, the visualization, and then I get a call from this guy that I heard 2 or 3 years ago, and then all of a sudden he calls me the next day and says, look, I have a project where I have 30 units that I'm converting into condos. So it's condo conversion project, and I got another 44 unit townhouses that just fell into my lap. The problem is I cannot sell another 44 townhouses, and I was wondering whether you could help with that. Now, why would he call me? Why would he call me all that? I'm not even an expert. Why would he do that? So you got to start believing that there's somebody up there, throwing this energy at them to say, call this guy, right? Or maybe, so long story short, I said, okay, let's have lunch. I go have lunch with him, not knowing what's going to happen. And here's what I said to him. I said, look, I guarantee that I'll buy 20 townhouses from you. And can you sell the other 24? He goes, if you can get 20, I'm done. So he looks at me in the eye and says, do you promise to buy 24 units? No backing, no investors, not knowing where I'm going to get the money. I look him right in the eye and I said, absolutely. I will buy 20 townhouses. And he says, okay, I'll give you 30 days. So I extended my hand. I said, you got it. I need 60 days. And now he's already shook my hand. And he's almost like, did I just agree to 60 days? Yeah, you did agree to 60 days. Okay. So then I went to the washroom. I threw up. I had maybe $50,000, $60,000 in my account at that time. Where am I going to, these units are about $250,000 each, and I just promised to buy $5 million worth of product with this guy, not knowing who am I going to do it, what am I going to do, how am I going to do it, what the fuck, what am I going to do, what am I doing? But it was my intuition. It's like, whatever it takes, man. And also reputation is on the line now. Because when you get big guys shake your hand and make you promise, man, that's really, really tough. So I go home, and all I do is I shut everything down, and all I do is, how do I sell 20 units? And that was a question I put out to the universe and to me before I went to sleep, after I woke up. It's good.
Yeah. So so you left off right on. Okay, you get home. You wrote posters everywhere of, I'm gonna buy these 20 properties. I'm gonna find a buyer for these 20 properties. And at that point, that's not knowing how you're gonna raise the $5 million. That's where it cut off.
Okay, so let's start with the after I threw up, I went back and I'm like, I didn't write notes or anything like that. What I did was, when anything I want, I say the word. I learned it from Robert Kiyosaki, which was, anything you want, you say, how do I, and then you fill in the blank, and then you go to sleep with that, and then you basically look for the answers that you already probably have. So we have file cabinets basically in our subconscious mind, which sometimes take a little longer and you got to dig deeper to get them out. And so if you say, how do I do this? Sometimes you're taking a shower and I'm like, wow, there's the answer. That's what that is. So I did that and I said, how do I do it? Because I had no idea where the hell am I going to get money, and I have 60 days to do it. And his project depends on my success, right? So he put an offer in for 60 days due diligence. It was a 44 unit condo conversion project and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure some people, it's the same thing in USA or in Canada, where if you own an apartment building and you want a condo converted, it just means that instead of having one deed for, let's say, 100 units, now you can have 100 deeds for 100 apartments, and people can buy. And in order to convert it into a condo, you need to upgrade sometimes fire codes, the lobby, and all that kind of stuff. So it looks like more like upscale than an apartment sometimes. So these were 44 individual townhouses in a place called Burlington, Ontario, and I said to myself, I just gotta do it. So then I'm sitting around, and I get a notice that there's this event happening in a week, and I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go. I was saying to myself, why am I going to waste time going to events than figuring out where to get the money, right? I mean, that's what. So I was once in a while I was calling people. I was looking at ads, thinking somebody had money. I was doing stupid things. I was calling people that I did not know, that I would say, hey, do you want to invest? Obviously not, but I was very, very motivated to make this happen. So this event came, and I don't want to go. And finally something said, just go. And I want you to understand that I am not, at this point, an investor the way I am today. I'm not a marketer. I'm not a business person. I didn't know what networking really means. I didn't know anything like that, right? So going to an event basically meant I'm going to go there and hopefully meet a couple of people and give them my business card. That was what networking meant to me. And then you come home and that's it. I go to this event and I realize that the speaker is the same speaker that I had a month ago where I went to his event, is the same speaker. And by this time I had about 4 or 5 or some odd number of properties that I had done. And I don't know anything about this and what's going on. So I'm sitting there in the back, in the corner, just folding my arm, listening to the speaker, not really interested, catching some stuff. But I'm just saying to myself, man, how do I sell these 20? Like, what do I do? Either somebody gives me $5 million, I can do it, or somebody sell it to each individual people and get some assignment fee. What do I do to make this happen? So I'm sitting there, and the break comes, and I am shy. I'm not talking to anybody. I see others. There are people talking to each other. I'm by myself almost, standing there, and the speaker walks by and stops, and he says, "Do I know you?" I go, yeah, I was there last month. I go, oh yeah. So he goes, because I had my name tag, he goes, Sunil, okay. So he goes, so what's happening since last time? I said, oh, I just bought 4 or 5 properties and all that kind of stuff. He goes, oh really? I said, yeah, okay, no problem. He goes, okay, great, no problem. So then he goes away, and I don't think too much of it. And then he gets up on the stage and he says, and this guy's from US, by the way, and we're in Canada. So a guy in the U.S. says, so how many of you think that you can't buy properties below market value? Guys, just be honest, because I'm from America. This is in Canada. It probably doesn't work, right? I mean, it may not work. So some people, they put their hands up like halfway up, and some others, stuff like that. Well, what if I tell you that there was a student right here about a month ago, came to a training that I did, and now he has bought the properties? Oh, no, I skipped one thing. What I forgot to tell you here is that when he was talking to me, he goes, what are you doing these days? And I said, well, I got this project where I got each property is $60,000 below market value. It's going to be fixed. I have a management company. People don't have to lift a hammer. Amazing cash flowing property below market value. And I didn't think too much of it. Like I'm thinking, I didn't think too much of it. And he goes, oh, okay. So then he says, how many of you think that doesn't exist in this area? It doesn't exist. And few people raised their hands. I remember people want to buy discounted properties, cash flowing properties. He said, what if I have somebody here right now? You know what? In fact, why don't I just, and I still, while he's talking, don't know, I'm not catching that he's talking about me. I didn't know that. I still thought he's just doing his presentation or whatever it is. So he says, Sunil, can you stand up? And for me to stand up in the audience was like almost like I was getting up, somebody's about to shoot me. Like I was just so petrified, even though I've gone through some scary stuff in my profession. I'm like, I'm standing up and like, what the hell is he going to do to me? Like, what is he doing? And he said, Sunil, how many, you were here last month, how many properties have you done? So I think it was like 5. He goes, guys, give him a hand. 5 properties, woohoo! And I'm like, okay, well, that's fine. And says like that. And he says, by the way, tell us about what you just told me about the project. And I'm like, well, he goes, you know what, we can't hear you. Just come up on the stage. I don't want to come on the stage. He says, just come on up on the stage. Guys, give him a hand. Give him a hand. And people was clapping, and I'm walking, and I thought I walked a mile almost. Like I'm just walking, and the stage is not that far away, and I'm like sweating and all that stuff. I'm still not catching up what's about to happen. And I get up on the stage, and he says, okay, so tell me about the project you just told me about. And then here's me, and I remember this very clearly. I had my arms folded on the stage, and I'm saying, well, it's a townhouse, 3-bedroom, $60,000 below market. What else is there? Positive cash flow. Oh yeah, all the fix-ups are going to be done. He goes, well, and then he kept helping me, and then the speaker looks at the crowd and says, guys, let me just repeat what he just said. Right here in your own town, he has an opportunity where you can get a $250,000 fixed up, done up, rented, whether it's rented or rent to own townhouse for $190,000. That's going to generate $400 positive cash flow every month after you pay everything. And then there's this silence. And I'm still not catching. I'm still not understanding what's going to happen, right? And he said, which changed my life, he said, who wants it? I will never forget, 70 to 80 people had their hands up. That day I sold 20 condos to that environment, to those people. And I had 60 days to bring in purchase orders for each condos to the builder or developer that I was dealing with. And within 30 days, I gave them 30 signed contracts with checks attached to it in case the other 10 did not get their mortgages. And I made 10 grand per contract. And the only contract I did with the other guy who was buying 44 units is a piece of paper, which is MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, which basically said he's buying this, which basically said I am buying 20 townhouses on best effort basis, which meant nothing. Okay? And I put no money down. And $10,000 per condo, of which 2 I bought for us. So 18 I assigned, let's call it. And the other one, I made 60 grand on it myself per condo. So I made good money. So what I found out was if you connect with the people who are powerful, center of influence, people who know and have done better than you have, people who have a following, and if they say, do this, it becomes easier, right? And that is what changed my life. So my motto is one center of influence can change your life forever. One, just one. So today, my goal is to when people become members of my club, people who are millionaires in my club, when they come and see me, I will personally introduce them to them. I mean, those introductions are worth millions of dollars. But I know that it's not what you know, it's who you know that matters. So I do those introductions and I do those joint ventures. I even do joint ventures with people myself with them and all that kind of stuff. And ability to get good deal and or raise money are the most important part. And they can be accomplished by getting people who are doing well on their own. So you could be the person who hits the payment yourself, or you get the person who hits the payment and you pay them to get the deals for you. And that's what I did. So my idea of growing was, if I am paying anything less than $20 an hour to anybody, and if it's something that I don't like to do, like admin work, photocopying, faxing, whatever, then I get somebody else to do it. And my number one goal is to put the deals together where I make the most amount of money, and also help people who want to become center of influences. That's really what I enjoy doing. What I found there is that that's where I make my $1,000 an hour. And so why would I go and invest? In the beginning, I was trying to do everything. So biggest lesson is, go places where you'll find people who are like-minded on a consistent basis. Not just once in a while. Just go every time you want it. You know, it is very, very important to do that. And find out what the other person wants, including center of influence, and get it for them before you ask them anything to get for you. In fact, do it in a way that even if they don't do it for you, don't get upset. So you got something for them and they didn't do anything for you. Maybe you need to do something more. Maybe just a little bit more. Because the biggest asset that most successful people like to protect, because they get bombarded with so many people, is their time. So now you gotta be able to do this. So today I just basically say, who do I want to connect? What do I have to do? And if it means $5,000 mentoring program, $10,000 mentoring program, or some sort of fee to get them, whatever, I say to myself, if I invest this much money, what kind of returns would I be able to get? And if it means that that's the only way I'm going to be able to get on their stages, or get them on my stages, or attract people and attract their money, then I say whatever it takes to make it happen. So the idea is, give people what they want first without expecting anything for you ever. Although you want that, obviously, you want them to do something for you. But you don't want to go with the attitude that, hey, if I get that for you, let me ask you a question. Would you do this for me? So it doesn't go very well with somebody, especially if they're more successful than you are. Okay? So, and I consistently continued doing what I did with those 20 units by going to another person and say, hey, what do you have? So I got 20 condos. And I said, well, I did that with townhouses. Well, it will work with this one. And then I start to get a little bit more creative about, I said, well, instead of assigning the deal, why don't I go to Josh and say, Josh, I have this deal, and how would you like to get into this deal, no money down? Josh was like, what's the catch, man? Say, okay, well, here's the thing. So if I sold 20 condos and I need to put down $20,000 as a deposit, I would make so much, let's say $100,000 on other condos that I just sold, and then out of that $100,000, I would take the $20,000 and I put the down payment for Josh for a condo where he would put his name and his mortgage under his name. Now, if I can find money and I can find people with credit, how many properties can I buy? As many as I want, right? Yeah. And what happened was, it ended up happening where people said, wait a minute, it's too good to be true. So you're going to find the deal, you're going to fund it, you're going to help me with the paper, and I get to use your resources, and you're going to split 50% with me? It's just crazy. It just doesn't make sense. And that's what I did. So I started so I went to the developers, and one of the project I did in Montreal, where we ended up selling about 30 some odd units. And the way I did it is that every time, every sale that I did with this guy, I was making $10,000. So I said to my joint venture partners, I'll put the $10,000 or $20,000 that developer needs. But it was really coming from the developer, right? And I will oversee the whole thing. I will make sure I'll visit they were brand new. I will visit to make sure everything's good. I will then put it on the market for renters. I will get a management company. I will do everything. So I find it, I fund it, I will oversee it, I'll do everything, I'll give you 50%. And what I was getting from them was their credit. And that's how as simple as that could be. And then I just said, wait a minute, if it works for one, it will work for 20. Just multiply what works. So if you're going to write a book, don't try to sell one book, try to sell many of them, so that's how you make money. Same thing with real estate. It's the numbers had power, and that's how I started making money. And as I went along, years after, whole idea of attracting joint venture partners, being on stages, being on big stages, being stages with giants, that really helped me. I mean, I've trained along a lot of people, including now with Robert Allen, who was my hero, and Brian Tracy and Jack Canfield of the world, and all that kind of stuff. I've co-authored books with them, shared stages with them, trained with them, trained their students alongside of him. Let's just say Robert Allen and all that kind of stuff. The whole point here is you got to have the mindset. And then when the opportunity shows up in your life, you got to be able to take action. Middle class, poor people, even if the goal showed up in their life, even if it showed up right in front of their face, they are experts in pushing that away subconsciously. The successful people are always trying to attract the right people into their life. And when they show up, say, what do I do to work with this guy? What do I do to create a win-win? And that's another thing I found was what I used to do as well, which was I used to create lose-win situation, meaning, hey, I'm new, you're the expert, share everything with me, teach me everything, and one day when I make some money, I'll share something with you. I never thought about their point of view. Wait a minute, they probably get hundreds of people saying that, and if I don't have anything invested, I'm not going to be very serious. So I'm not going to do anything. So poor middle class people, they create lose-win situation, meaning I win, you lose situation. And successful people create win-win situations where it attracts. In fact, successful people say to you, if somebody comes to them and say, here's what I have a great deal, and it's got $50,000 profit, and guess what? I want you to make all $50,000. I'm going to do all this work for you, and I don't want to get paid. Well, the successful person is going to say to get lost. Because the successful person say, no, how are you winning? Whereas non-successful people, if something comes to them in their life, they're going to say, really? Oh, man, thanks. That's awesome. And then they go, I wonder when nothing happens to me in my life. Right? So when the market, you talked about the mistakes. I actually wrote a book on it. It's called 7 Biggest Mistakes I Made, which I'm going to give you the link, and people can get it absolutely no cost, actually. And in there, I put down 7 mistakes that I made with real estate, such as finding the right joint venture partners and the right paperwork, and not doing the due diligence properly on the property and or the people. Those were very, very important. But one of the biggest mistakes that I made was when the market was amazing, going well. We promoted a project in Carousel. It's a hotel condo, and they had the financing, they had everything like that. And gentleman from Toronto area was the builder. Well, the U.S. crashed, and apparently every financial institution at that time stopped lending, and especially lending offshore. And then the whole project goes down, and the builder leaves and runs away, and then we get well, the security commission comes along because people lose money. And what they found was the way that we did paperwork, that I did the paperwork of raising the money for the hotel condo, constituting selling securities. which is you guys have security laws there too, and stuff like that. So they found that the developer ended up at the end of the day taking some of the money when they knew that this was happening, and we did not. We basically promoted and got so the whole point here is that if you are going to do this on a level where you're going to start raising money, private money, joint venture partners, make sure that you know the security laws. That's my point at the end of the day. And if you need to deal with sophisticated investors because your project is that, then you do it that way. That's something that has been a biggest mistake that we have made that has a huge impact. It's very, very, very important.
Yep, I love it, and we're and I apologize, we're running short on time here. I got another podcast starting in about 4 minutes.
All right.
So, but I want to make sure, just in case, I know I have links below to your books, to your site, to your membership that you have, but just in case somebody is driving down the road and maybe they can't click on the link, what's the best way to learn more about you, to go check out your membership club, to go buy your books? And those of you watching, listen, I mean, there's so much wealth of knowledge here. You know, to me, you got a guy here that's created this system, that's put it out there for you. So I highly encourage you all to go check it out. So what's the best place to do that, Sunil?
Thanks for letting me. So basically, first one is privateinvestmentclub.com is my website. Also, suniltulsiani.com is my website. And what I want to do is I want to give 2 audiobooks gifts to everyone who's listening. If they go to PIC, which stands for Private Investment Club, so picevents.ca/gifts. So picevents.ca/gifts. I have 2 audiobooks that they can download right off the bat. One is with Brian Tracy, and one is with myself and Brian Tracy on brain wiring yourself for massive success at the end of the day. I also wanted to say that if they want to get hold of us, they can also give my assistant a call, which is at 905-488-4033. If you're looking to become wealthy in real estate, you want to be on big stages, you want to get some mentoring, you want to write books, you want to co-author books with giants, or anything like that where you want to grow your business, I do mentor presidents and CEOs of the companies, people who want to go to the next level, as well as people who just want to make lots of money in real estate. And lastly, I have publicly announced and made this goal, which is this: I personally will make 100 millionaires directly. Will make 100 millionaires directly. I have not succeeded so far. I have confirmed total of 6 millionaires that have become millionaires directly because of our club and myself and working with me. And if there are others who claim to become millionaires, if I can't prove it, I don't count them. So for all intents and purposes, I need to make 94 millionaires in real estate, speaking world, authorships, writing books. If you want to become the best mentor or coach in the world, how to do that? I want to make 94 more millionaires. Come connect with me, get to know, let's build some relationship, get some gifts, buy some books. Even if you don't have it, I'm giving you a free gift, which is that picevents.ca/gifts. It was awesome speaking with you. Thanks for letting me share my story. And I really hope that it inspires a lot of people. And all I can say is that, man, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And you know, there's nothing special about me. I just know one thing: what I want, I go get.
Yeah, and those of you listening, you know, one thing that all of you, if you've been paying attention, that should be taken away from this is to take immediate action, right? So
Yes.
he gave you free gifts, you know, so even if you're in a tough spot and you don't have the money to invest, take action right now on the free gifts, and make sure that you check out Sunil's sites that he gave, and we'll make it really easy. Like I said, below is a link to click. And Sunil, man, I know how busy you are, and this has been a massive honor having you on the show, my friend, and we'll, you know, hopefully continue connecting, and love it, man. Really, really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right, thank you guys, and we will see you next time.